A Place Called Home by L.H. Moore. Our world is dying. Again. I can't sleep just thinking about it. Do you think that we are going to have to leave? I asked my older brother Rashid, who was lying there in his bed looking up at the ceiling and obviously awake too. He might act tough and everything, but I could tell it was bothering him. It has only been 2 years this time. We haven't been here long at all. Rashid groaned from across the room before answering. I was pretty sure that he was rolling his eyes too. Look, Renzo, if that's the deal, then that's the deal. We've been through this before. The situation is not going to change and we're going to have to go, he said, sighing before turning over. Try to get some sleep. He waved a hand in the air and the lights dimmed, then turned off. Come on, Sheed, I feel like we just got used to being here, like things were feeling normal. I don't want to have to go. Stop being a baby about it. We're going to have to go. He turned over, making it clear that he didn't want to talk anymore. He never wants to talk to me. I sighed and stared at the ceiling myself. The rumour had spread throughout our settlement, and it was all everyone could discuss. My best friends Tia and Levon sat with me at our favourite spot on a hill overlooking the town. We could see the mountains in the distance and the farmsteads on its border. Levon and his family lived on a small one just outside of the village where they grew crops and raised livestock. I heard that this planet releases deadly spores every few years, and another release is about to happen soon, Tia said. Her father was a scientist like mine. Well, I heard something about the inner core being unstable, I said as I laid back and looked at the sky. Really? I heard an asteroid was coming our way, Levon said. Besides, our last planet had an unstable core. Could we really have that much bad luck to have a planet go out on us in the exact same way? It doesn't matter. If there's something wrong, then we are going to have to go, Tia said, plucking a purple flower and tucking it into her braids. A small blue creature with large yellow eyes hopped excitedly beside her. She picked it up and put it in her lap, where it made itself comfortable as she stroked its long fur. Tia looked down as it made soft cooing sounds. I hope that I can take Lulu with us. Do you think that they will make me leave them behind? Can we even have pets while we are on the ship? I don't remember, I said to her, trying to make her feel better. No need to upset her any more than she already was. But I hope you can. Later that afternoon, my mother and I were sitting in the house when we heard the announcement. Her face changed, full of worry. It's okay, Renzo. We have to go to the town meeting now. Your father will probably just meet us there. She called upstairs to Sheed, who came downstairs slowly. I think annoyed is his permanent mood now. My mother took my hand as we made our way through the narrow streets. I didn't turn it down this time. I don't know, holding it made me feel a little less worried. I didn't care what I looked like. Things must have been wrong because normally Sheed would tease me about it, but he didn't say a word. He was walking on the other side of her, and although he was trying to hide it, I could tell that he was nervous too. Elder Laura had gathered us all in the main square, her grey locks in a head wrap of purple and orange patterned cloth that matched her robes. She was standing up on a high platform, and our father was standing beside her with some of the other scientists. I could see Tia across the way with her family. She caught my eye and shrugged, shaking her head. Elder Laura raised her hands in the air, silencing the crowd. I'll just get right to it. Our scientists have discovered an anomaly, Elder Laura said. Gasps and murmurs rippled through the crowd as she continued. We are sorry to report this, but it has become unsafe for us to continue to inhabit this land, this planet. What is about to happen is an extinction-level event. I know this is hard to hear, but we can't stay any longer and will need to evacuate immediately. Everyone turned to look at one another, those gasps now turning into cries and shouts. You said this would be the last time, someone yelled. What are we going to do? Asked another. Elder Laura raised her hands again. I know this is difficult. There was no way that we could have known. When we got here, there was no sign of any trouble. You know from living here that everything was working out fine. I felt my mother's grip tighten on my hand. I squeezed her hand back. How long do we have? A voice shouted from the back. Elder Laura looked down for a moment before looking out at everyone. A few days at most. As there is no true way to tell, we should leave as soon as possible. This is not something to take lightly, and the last thing that I thought I would have to say to all of you ever again. We must leave. We must go. Don't dismiss this. The three of us met on our hill one last time, and sat there quietly looking over the village. The blue grass seemed to shimmer as the breeze blew through their blades. The houses, with their tan and white stucco walls, seemed more quiet today, their residents moving in and out of them with purpose. We could see leaders helping to direct people towards the ships. Since the announcement was made, everyone had been uncertain and scared. I was glad to be away for a moment. We're not going, Levon said quietly. Tia and I both turned to look at him. She looked as shocked as I'm sure I did. What do you mean you're not going? Tia said, her lips starting to tremble. But you have to. I don't understand. My dad doesn't want to go. He thinks it is a hoax and will take his chances because it might not happen, Levon said, looking down at the ground. He said that a whole lot of hard work went into creating a home and a farm here and making something of it. My mom has been begging and pleading with him to leave, but he's made his decision. He won't go, and she doesn't want to go without him. But Levon, I start to say. But there wasn't really anything that I could say about that. I'm kinda really scared. If everyone goes, we're all alone, and if this is real, then... Tia leaned over and hugged him, tears starting to run down her face. I felt tears on my face too. I don't want him to stay. I don't want anything to happen to him. I'm sorry, Levon, I said, hugging him too. Our parents led the way as we walked through the ship's corridors. It felt so familiar. We spent so much time walking or running through them as we waited for somewhere to call home. The ship had been kept near the village with a crew that regularly maintained it. A lot of people had wondered why that was necessary. I guess we're all finding out that it was a good idea after all. We stopped in front of a door with 514 in large type. Deck 5, apartment 14. Our apartment. Dad held his hand to it and the door slid open. Here we are, Mama said, trying to be cheerful with a large smile on her face as we stepped inside. The air circulation systems had been turned on in advance, so it didn't have that musty smell that ship apartments get when they go unused for too long. Yes, their father said with a groan. Here we are again. Sheed took a look around, his lip curling up in disgust. I can't believe that we are back on this ship, he muttered angrily. He still isn't really saying anything to me, even though I've tried to. He hasn't really been saying anything to anyone. Black cargo bins with our things were stacked in the corner. They would stay strapped down until we were at our cruising speed. No need to unpack until then anyway, so Mama calmly took her seat and began reading. She'd sat across from her, letting me have the seat with the view. Dad sat across from me and started whispering to Mama. I could only hear pieces of what they were saying. Things like, they have a new prospective planet in mind, but it is a few light years away. And they don't think we have to go into suspension. Well, at least not for the entire time. The apartment lit up with a red light as the alarm started to sound. We looked at one another and leaned back in our seats, pulling our harnesses over ourselves and clicking them into place. Everything started to vibrate as we felt the engines rev up. Here's to the next place we call home, their dad said, as the ship shuddered and started to lift. I looked out at the view and could not stop thinking about Levon as the ground beneath us got further and further away. The ship shook once more, and within only a few seconds we were speeding through space among the stars. I looked at my family for a moment before looking out at the blackness. Here's to the next place we call home.